Hello, my name's Anna Farger and I'm the author of The Umbrella Mouse. I am going to read you a bit of chapter 2 now. So chapter 2 takes place just after my little mouse heroine here, Pip. It's just after a bomb has hit her beloved umbrella shop where she has always lived with her mother and father. In one furious snarl, Pip's life as she knew it came to an end. The bomb struck Bloomsbury Street like lightning and belched its insides outwards in a hot black cloud that swallowed the sun. At first, the street held its breath as the dust hung like fog in the air. Smouldering papers and photographs fell from the sky like autumn leaves tumbling in a breeze. Mr. and Mrs. Smith's cherished wedding picture came to rest on the front step of where James Smith and Sons umbrellas had once stood. Above it, there was no longer a door to welcome customers inside. The shop was lying as helpless as a house of cards, blown to pieces by a careless player. Deep beneath the mangled bricks and broken glass, little Pip Hanway opened her eyes in the dark. "Mama!" she coughed. "Papa!" But only a dull roar bellowed in her ears. Searching the shadows in alarm, she realised she was alone in a small hollow in the rubble. There was no way in and no way out. "Mama! Papa!" she cried again, but all she heard was ringing and the sound of her little heart clamouring inside her head. Pip trembled. She had never been completely alone before. Even when she secretly crept outside the umbrella and into the umbrella shop, Mama and Papa had always been sleeping nearby. "Mama! Pop!" But at that moment the earth rumbled above her and dust poured into the hollow, rushing around her ankles to her knees. Pip threw her head from side to side, desperately trying to stop the dust creeping inside her mouth and nose. Suddenly the earth shook violently again. At once the darkness overhead cracked into a jagged web of light. With a racing heart, Pip hurried through a tiny opening like thread passing through the eye of a needle and chased the slivers of daylight to the street above. But the world Pip laid eyes on was not the world she knew. Sirens wailed, and men and women ran frantically past buildings that were stripped of their walls and windows. Once private places were now rooms on public display. She shuddered at a painting dangling lopsided in an upstairs bedroom, hanging perilously above a floor that had been blown away. The number 8 bust of Bethnal Green that normally stopped in front of the umbrella shop was now standing crippled in the middle of the road, with smoke billowing out of jagged, broken windows. It was then that a terrible shiver of panic threw Pip's eyes wide open. Ahead of her, the half-closed Hanway umbrella lay beneath the bus's front tyre, rippling with the smouldering ebony glow. Pip's legs trembled with terror. Clambering over shattered bricks and glass 20 times her size, she reached the road and sprinted for the umbrella, zigzagging through the enormous boots and high-heeled shoes that were chaotically crashing across her path. A few moments brought her to the bus, moaning as it buckled in the heat and spat flame and smoke that curled her whiskers as if she had crawled into an open fire. "Mama! Papa!" she cried, reaching for the umbrella. She yelped in pain as her paws flinched and blistered on its tarpaulin. With beads of sweat racing down her brow, Pip desperately searched for a way inside to find Mama and Papa, but it was hopeless. The umbrella was heavier and hotter than anything she had ever known. "Looks like you're in a spot of bother, aren't you, mate? These new doodle bugs don't do things by halves." Standing there in the smoke, with a long pink tongue lolling out of his mouth, was a small dog with a kind, sandy face, dark eyes and short black fur like worn-out toothbrush bristles. Wrapped around his body was a grubby white coat with a thick red cross stitched on the side. Instantly, Pip's heart jumped with hope. He was one of the search and rescue dogs Mama and Papa had told her about. They followed their noses and found people buried under the rubble after the bombs fell. She had seen one trot past the shop window once, walking with a man dressed in dark blue overalls and a white tin hat. "Help!" Pip cried. "Please help! My Mama and Papa are inside!" The dog snapped the umbrella in his mouth, but it burned his lips and he spat it out with a growl. Panting in the heat, he carefully scampered around the umbrella. Jabbing it quickly and lightly with his coal black nose, he found its silver tip. Pinching it with his teeth, the terrier shuffled backwards and dragged it from the bus into a nearby puddle next to our fire engine. It hit the ground with a hiss. "Careful, mate," the dog said, watching stunned as Pip swiftly paddled across the water. "Mama!" she cried breathlessly, dragging her sopping wet body out of the puddle. "Papa!" Racing inside the hot umbrella, she hurried to their nest at the highest point of the canopy, the place where they had spent their days curled up together, hiding from the outside world. But the nest was gone. Only a few stray pieces of fluff and old newspaper remained. She called again, coughing in the stifling heat as she scrambled around the umbrella, searching every pleat, pocket and furrow inside the canopy. "Where are you?" A sick feeling of fear crept over her. Still she looked, and her nose twitched with hope as she lifted each ripple of tarpaulin in her paws, desperately wanting to find them tucked inside a fold. But each one felt emptier than the last, and soon a horrible screech of panic rang inside her ears. Mama and Papa were not inside the umbrella. "Where's your mum? Where's your dad?" the dog yapped, poking his nose into the end of the umbrella and sniffing vigorously. "This ain't a place for little uns." But Pip didn't know where they were. Closing her eyes, she wrapped herself up in the dark creases of the umbrella and pressed her nose against the canopy, searching for Mama and Papa's fading smell. In her heart, she knew she had lost them.